Nestled beside the old Senator's hot stove, it is the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. And we're recording this on Halloween, so happy Halloween. More importantly, we're recording this as the Blue Jays are one win away from a World Series title. Sens getting ready for the Habs. That could get violent like it often does on Saturday night. And 4 games to get into over the period of time that it's been since we last got together with you. It is Steve Warren along with the coach, Greg Kennedy. Greg, how are you?
I'm good, Steve. Happy Halloween.
You as well. And you've got your, I always look forward to seeing what kind of graphic t-shirt you've got. And you've got Bushwood CC. I normally know what they are. I don't think I know what that one is.
Oh, Bushwood Country Club, Steve. Caddyshack.
Oh, right. Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
I still am amazed they made a second Caddyshack, and I didn't know about it until recently.
Yeah. Don't sell yourself short, Steve. You're a tremendous slouch.
Yes, I am. Sit up straight to be a slouch. Trivia about Caddyshack too that I learned in the 1980s, 90s adult contemporary band called Wilson Phillips. China Phillips was one of the lead actresses in Caddyshack too. Just throwing that out there for lame pop culture trivia.
Never watched it,
but let's
it's
get
right up there
things.
with Major League 2 and 3. Never seen them.
I tried to watch it for a minute. Jackie Mason's the star of it. It just
Slapshot 2. Never seen it.
Not right.
Yeah.
Good choices both. Let's get into things though. Like I say, it's been an interesting week. The Sens had a couple of 7-goal victories over the Capitals and Bruins. Think they're out of the water. Then they go to Chicago. Yeah, it's a back-to-back in travel, but that's not a great team. And the Hawks waxed them 7-3. And then on Thursday night, the Sens didn't exactly have their A game, but they found a way to find a W, coming back on 3 occasions to beat the Calgary Flames. So it's 2 points, but not exactly the most impressive win of all time, is it?
No, it's not. But yeah, like you said, it's 2 points. It's 6 out of 8, right? Like that's good. Let's just take the good and move on and work on whatever was wrong. Obviously, the start in Chicago was terrible, very, very flat, brutal first period. But apparently they matured over the course of a day, and suddenly they could play the game again against Calgary on Thursday night. But yeah, that's Chicago and Calgary. That's 4 points that should be just never mind penciling it in. It should be inked in with a Sharpie right off the bat. You should be getting 4 points in those 2 games.
Chicago's a hall of horrors, the house of horrors. 13-1-1 in their last 15 visits to Chicago over the years. Obviously, the from the start of that bad skid to now, the team has changed over completely. So I'll take that with a grain of salt. But Chicago does seem to have the Sens number for whatever reason. But the upside of it is that I think that Calgary game is a good example of games they used to lose all the time, religiously. You could count on them losing those games. You know, they weren't wildly outclassed in the game, but they always found a way to lose those games. Now, I think this is part of their mindset of trusting the process. Just keep doing what you're doing. Okay, things aren't working out right now. Maybe it was a bad bounce. Maybe it was Ullmark letting it a softy. Whatever it is, just keep focused. Control the things, Greg, that you can control.
Exactly. That's the touchstone. That is the Senator catchphrase of all catchphrases, right? Just turn the page, play the game, play our way. We have a much better chance of being successful when they play their way consistently all night. Once one guy goes off page, 2 guys go off page, suddenly it's a whole other world again. And that's the way it was for far too many years here. They get into games, they get into situations, and the opposition could essentially just wait for the Senators to lose the game rather than having to work all that hard to win the game and beat them. They beat themselves. And against Calgary, they wouldn't let that happen. I mean, there were blips along the way. Obviously, the turnover goal for what was the go-ahead goal in the third period, Sanderson at the offensive blue line, was a baddie, but you kept going, kept plugging, kept rolling the lines, kept playing the game, kept doing what you needed to do. And in a game you never led all night, you won in a shootout. Take the 2 points and, get out of Dodge, although they're at home. But take the 2 points and go home.
Yeah. Off to Montreal on Saturday now, and they're in a situation where, that's been a good team so far. The Canadiens are... I mean, they've got 4 or 5 guys that are just off to fantastic starts and look like they're going to be really good Habs for a very long time. The likes of Hudson, Caulfield, Suzuki. They've got Demidov there now as well. You've got Noah Dobson, probably missing a couple others as well. I do think it drops off after their top 5 or 6, but it does for most teams. And generally speaking, the Canadiens are, and their fan base, very excited about where they are right now. Is this a team, do you think? Because I'm hearing like podcasters talk about Stanley Cups and things like that. To me, it's too early in the season to panic, and it's certainly too early in the season to be celebrating any accomplishment. Off to a nice start, full credit for that, but still a long way to go. What do you think of the Habs so far this year?
Yeah, I think it's way too early in the finally the upward projection of the cycle they're in, right? Of the cycle of every team. It's way too early in that to start saying they're going to win Stanley Cups. I mean, come on, there's such a serious lack of depth there. You get down to the third and fourth line, and it's not there for that team to be a championship team. I'm not saying they suck, but I'm also not saying they're great. Like they're a good hockey club. God, I hate the Habs, and that really hurts me to say that, but they are a pretty good team. I mean, they're 2 points up on the Senators. It's no big deal. They got lots of time to catch them, but they're better than you think they are. They're better than they probably most people would have expected them to be at this point in their rebuild, retool that started 3-4 years ago. They're a lot further along. They seem to have done it quicker and with some better players and some better projected players than the Senators did it. But no, let's put away any talk of them being Stanley Cup contenders. That's just silly.
Here are the standings. The good listener can see them right now. You cannot, but the standings in the Atlantic are bananas. So you got Montreal and Detroit leading the way as we record this on Halloween. They're leading the way in the Atlantic. The Sens are 3 points back, and the Sens are also only 2 points out of dead last, which is held by the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. You can imagine how upset that makes me. But yeah, that's just a good example as you look at the standings of how early it actually is, and how you should really take all the stats with a grain of salt. Because people keep coming at me with statistics about goalie save percentage. Like the guy, okay, yeah, it's not good, but we all know that a couple of games in a row where there's a shutout or one goal allowed in the game, and all of a sudden the save percentage looks pretty good. So that too, individually speaking, you got to wait, I think, 20 games before you get too excited to the good or the bad.
Save percentage is especially one of those stats, right? You have a 35 shot night where you only give up one, or you have a 30 save shutout. Like that number changes in a hurry. It's a percentage, people,
Right.
that's just in. So yeah, it changes in a hurry. It's pretty early to be looking at things like that. Other trends though, like the slot shots and expected goals against and dangerous scoring chances. Those are things that you might want to be paying attention to when it happens game after game after game, that the opposition does better than you in some of those areas. But yeah, I'm not getting carried away. And you want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens? I don't think Sam Montembeault is exactly Jacques Plante or even Carey Price over there. I'm not too concerned about Montreal Canadian goaltending being far stellar or far better than anything Ottawa has. Linus Ullmark will be fine. I think he needs to stop talking to the press right after games, but I think he'll be fine. He's a better goalie and will be the better goalie over the course of a full season than Sam Montembeault, in my opinion.
Well, I think Montembeault's got to worry not so much about Ullmark, but about the guy that started the year as his backup in Jakub Dobeš. If
True.
you look at the statistics right now, they played the same number of games. Dobeš has, I don't have it in front of me, but he's a full goal better in save percentage, almost, and he's more than 2 goals better in goals against average. So it has a lot of people wondering if Dobeš is now the new number one. And I was going to ask you, like, how long until we're talking in the same terms where, Marilainen's obviously, he had a nice performance, a nice bounce back game after that terrible game in Buffalo. So he's got some work to do too, but a lot of people aren't very happy with the start for Linus Ullmark on the season. And certainly, I wonder if his teammates were very happy with him after his commentary against the Chicago Blackhawks, where he described the performance of his teammates. I don't know that he necessarily excluded himself from that description, but he described the team performance as immature. What would your and obviously head coach Travis Green was asked about that later, and he kind of sloughed it off, saying that he was just frustrated. But I don't know,
Yeah,
what would your opinion be if your goaltender, scuffling as he is out there saying things like we're immature right now?
I agree with Travis Green. I just Linus was probably frustrated with his own effort first and foremost, more so than the team, and just said, basically his point was it takes a maturity level, mature game to play properly and get through the troubles they had in Chicago, or even to start that game properly takes a maturity level that they didn't have that night. Okay, fine. Maturity probably isn't the right word. There's other words he could have used. There are also other things beyond maturity that were required that night. One of them being a goaltender who was going to stop the puck a little more often. I think if the goaltender was stopping the puck, he would have been talking about maturity from the team. None of us will be discussing it. I'm willing to bet that at some point, a nice conversation, a quiet conversation between Travis Green and Linus Ullmark took place, there might have even been some stern words in it from Travis, like, "Look, I'll handle the post game questions regarding our performance. You don't need to talk about team tactical performances. Let me handle that. You just stick to stopping the puck and maybe do it a little more consistently for us, and we'll all be happy."
He was, and I know I said a moment ago, save percentage wise, it's too early to panic one way or the other
Stereo.
because things can improve in a hurry. But Allmark's like 58. He entered the Calgary game 58th in the NHL in save percentage, so that's not great. And so I think that's part of why, if I'm his teammate, I'm going, okay, who are you to be telling us
Right.
problems, saying
Yeah.
that we're kind of immature, and because he used immature as the description. If he just said terrible, I think there might have been an assumption that he includes himself in that. But because he says immature, as one of the veteran, older leadership guys in the room, there's almost a feeling of separation from the comment. And so I think that was part of why it wasn't appreciated, along with the fact that Ullmark has not been nearly at his best to start the year. Who are you to be making any kind of criticisms of this team right now? But he did walk it back after the game against Calgary on Thursday night. He did say, I came in a little hot there and maybe said some things I regret, and really credited the team for, by contrast, a mature performance, coming back 3 times as they did in the win over Calgary. But
He
what's
did
your
take a
assessment,
mild,
generally
yeah,
speaking?
he did take a mild shot at himself. If you watch the full interview, the full chat at his stall post game in Chicago, he did say that later on in the game when we kind of seemed to find ourselves and I didn't really make the saves or something along those lines. He did make a comment that he wasn't all that good. But he did not say anything along the lines of, "I wasn't good to start the game along with the rest of my teammates." That, yes, we were immature starting the game because we weren't ready to play, but neither was I. There was nothing like that. Did not seem to indicate that he didn't start well, which he didn't. And the save percentage thing, yes, I agree and made a comment about it, that the overall number could change very easily. It's not the overall number that concerns me. It's the game by game number. It's the fact that one night he's 92 and the next night he's 82. Or one night he's 94 and the next night he's like 79. Like, that's a problem. Giving up too many goals on nights when they just can't afford it, right? There's been too many nights where he's given up 4 or 5, and that's just that you can't have that. If you're going to be a first place team, if you're going to be a playoff team, if you're going to be a championship team, you're going to win a division, whatever. You can't have a goaltender who routinely every third game is going to give up 4 or 5. It just can't happen. I think that
Yeah.
Linus Ullmark definitely needs to spend more time inner thinking, concentrating on himself and his own game before he's shooting off too much about the team. Stay in your lane.
Yeah, I don't think he's been nearly at his best, though. I think he's been unlucky as well, which I don't think a lot of people put much stock in. They just sort of go, okay, he had this many shots and he allowed this many goals. But I look at that Chicago game. I mean, somewhere along the way, one goes in off of Matt and Paolo's leg. Somewhere along the way, you also have to give credit to one of the finest shooters in the game in Connor Bedard.
Mhm.
Um, like, he comes across on that one power play goal, and Allmark gets across. He's in perfect position, and there's like nowhere to put the puck. There's a little sliver over his shoulder, and Bedard puts it there. Um, I think that the screen factor is also a big deal. And Mike Kelly from NHL Network, who does their analytics, He was talking a little bit about how often he is screened, and a lot of people reacted to his stat that Ullmark has a very poor screened save percentage. His
Yeah.
save percentage while screened. And I usually go along, even with some of the analytics I don't fully understand. I kind of nod my head and go, okay, I guess that makes sense. But I had to put my foot down on that one. Like, to me, if you're screened, if you can't see the shot coming, anything that happens next is luck. It could be good luck, it could be bad luck. But how do you bury a goaltender if you can't see the puck? It's all just luck after that.
I agree. I saw your tweet on that one too, and felt sort of. I understood where you were coming from. I think that the bigger question is, okay, then what percentage of shots that he faces are screenshots? Like, why didn't you follow up and give me that stat? That's a little more telling. Like, if 80% of the shots he faces are screenshots and he only stops 20% of them, we got a problem. Like, hey guys, stop giving up screenshots. But I think that the other side of the coin is, okay, then maybe it's a technical issue, and I'm sure he's a goaltender. He's an NHL goaltender with a goalie coach and video guys, and I'm sure they've looked at the screenshot goals that he allows. The technical issue is he down? Are his pads spread out to take away the bottom of the net? Is his chest up high? Is his head up high to provide to be as big as he can? And he's not down scrunched. Like, technically speaking, is he doing all the right things to stop that screenshot? And therefore, it is just a matter of luck from there. But if he is, standing up and looking around and his legs are wide open and he's not in a proper position no matter what, then yeah, then you do have an issue. And that would explain maybe why he gives up these screenshots. So I really think you need to dig deeper than just the baseline stat that he gives up too many goals on screenshots. It's silly without any context.
I think to some degree it's also an indictment of the defense not
Sure.
clearing the front of that net. Your centerman could be there as well. Like, there was one of the goals on Thursday night against Calgary. It was like he basically had, I think it was, I want to say that Ullmark was kind of down and thinking he had the puck but didn't, but the puck was still bouncing around. And
Mm.
like, it just seemed like whack, 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 whack. The attackers from the Flames were just allowed to just keep whacking away until the puck finally ended up in the net. Like, where did we go wrong? Where did we stop going, hey, there's somebody on the other team that's standing literally in the crease right now whacking at the puck? Why isn't that an automatic he's on his ass sort of a game plan at that stage of the game? Just Stutzler was standing around, one of the defenders was standing around, two Flames were there standing around. Like, that to me used to be anarchy in there. You might as well be face washing the goalie in terms of the reaction you're going to get. But there was nothing from the Sens there. So I think part of this screened save percentage being so low, it's partly because the opposing forwards aren't getting cleared out the way they should.
Exactly. I agree totally. And that's what I'm getting at with the whole context thing. Like, sit down and look at all these video. Look at the video of every goal that he's allowed. I mean, I haven't, so I'm not going to comment too intently on it or pretend that I know exactly what the issue is. But you look at every one of the goals that's allowed and you see patterns, and then you react to that. You react to that either with a tactical decision regarding defensive play, or you react to that with a technical issue regarding your goaltender. But from a coaching standpoint, from a video study, take the stats, look at the video, eye test versus statistical empirical data test, and then come up with a game plan to improve from there. Just throwing a stat out and saying this is horrible. You could throw out a stat like that for every team in the league. You could throw out a stat of some sorts that you could find on Connor McDavid that shows that he's terrible if you just nitpick at certain stats. So just be leery, people, when you're reading things like that online or on via X posts or wherever you find your data. Just make sure you understand there's other things involved before the cold hard number pops out at you.
Yeah, just even something basic like the Chicago game. I think about the first period. Yes, he gave up 3 goals in the first period, and people were saying, "My God, 3 goals on 8 shots. It's a joke. Ullmark's a joke." And did you go and look and slow it down and see what Ullmark might have been seeing or not seeing on the play?
Yeah.
To me, those 3 goals in the first period, I honestly didn't have them on Ullmark. People were saying like the first goal by Colton Dach, well, he booted that, right into Doc's stick blade, and he had the easy opportunity. It's like, well, have we talked about the fact that Bertuzzi was screening him on the initial shot, so it was good that he got a pad on it at all. Did we talk about the fact that Doc had like miles and miles of space to operate there because both Sanderson and Zub went onto the left side of Ullmark, leaving Doc with a clear spot to the net. It just before you bury a goaltender, watch the goals, like you said, watch the replays. And if it's time to indict him and say, you know, he should have had that, he blew that one, that's his fault, go ahead and do that at that stage of the game. But don't just look at it and say 3 goals on 8 shots, he must be terrible. No, not necessarily. He might be in some cases, but not always.
Hockey season is finally here. This is where fans show their colors. The cheers, the rivalries, and the late night games. But your home should be part of the game too. Control your lights from anywhere with a phone or a tablet. With Celebrate permanent lighting, you can show off your team's colors all season long. Celebrate every win and stand out every season with Celebrate permanent holiday lighting.
Moving on. We've gone on long enough about the Ullmark thing, but what do you think about Ullmark as a fighter? Going the length of the ice to take on the Washington Capitals goaltender, Charlie Lindgren. That was very funny. I did not expect that.
I'm trying to figure out what he was doing there. You know what? My plug is not working, Steve. Hang on. I'm going to reach over and plug in my my laptop here. Hang on a second.
Yep.
Yeah, the first thing I thought was, wow, does he not like Charlie Lindgren? Do they have some sort of history? So I'm thinking back to the Four Nations, and I'm wondering, did he beat him out for the job? You know, who were the goalies for Sweden back in the Four Nations? Did that have something to do with it? I confess, I came up with no proper solution that other than he just counted up the jerseys and went, wait a minute, the goalie should be in the crease, but he's in the fight. I better get down there. But I wondered if there was something else going on underlying between those two men. Maybe there still is. Maybe there is. We just didn't know about it. I'm not sure. I thought it was funny though. And then they let him go all the way down there, and then they don't let him fight. Like, come on, let the guy fight, for crying out loud. There's nothing better than a goalie fight. Gord will tell you that. I just was kind of disappointed that they weren't allowed to actually fight. I thought it was kind of tacky. Ridley Gregg punched Lindgren in the face with his glove on. That was pretty tacky. But if you're going to let the goalie skate all the way down the ice and get involved, then let him get involved. That was my basic underlying take for the whole thing.
Yeah. Now, I think Lindgren's not Swedish, is he?
I just assume he is. I don't know. Is he? Isn't he?
No,
you were just looking something
so.
up there. Is he? Isn't he?
Yeah, I think I want to. I was trying to, but of course the 2 sites I hit before my turn to talk comes along again.
Oh, sorry.
I just gave me stats and no, but I don't think he's Swedish. Is my point. I think I want to say he's American, but yeah, I agree with you. Like, why is the referee in there for starters? Like the referees, yeah. I'm gonna go in there and take that goalie that just arrived, and then I'm gonna do nothing else. So just stand by this goalie so that the Ottawa Senators are undermanned in this skirmish. Very strange. I don't think Ullmark was gonna do very much, but that was a rough night for Charlie Lindgren.
Let him find
get
out.
down to it. Yeah.
Right? Like, actually, he's from Minnesota. He's an American. So that's why I couldn't find anything in my whole theory of sometime they had some dust up in the past in Sweden. That's why I couldn't find any proof of that.
That would be why.
Way to go, coach.
But I think Lindgren, he's mad at Ridley Gregg, and we're going over old covered ground now, but he's angry with Ridley Gregg, wants to tear his head off, and that's what started the skirmish. But maybe don't. I mean, I understand he's frustrated, but he gets the puck and he launches it into the corner quite quickly, just as the whistle's going. And I think that's why Ridley Gregg kind of changes his tactics at that stage, thinking that, oh, he's releasing the puck, I better go after it, because he looked like he was ready to sort of dial it down, thinking Lindgren had it. And then when Lindgren threw the puck away, he started going again. And at that stage of the game, everybody thought that he's running the goalie. No, he was just changing path to go after the puck again. And, well, he's never been shy to go through the crease area, as Anthony Stolarz in the playoffs can attest. But, yeah, Lindgren shouldn't have done that. That's sort of what started it all off. I don't think there was any intent there by Ridley Gregg.
Of course there was, Steve. Come on. There was 100% intent. I'm going to accidentally on purpose run into your goaltender the second you give me a little shove, right? Like he was going to the net to wreak havoc, and he got a little shove from the defenseman, and suddenly, oh, geez, I ran into the goalie. Sorry about that, buddy. Your defenseman gave me a little shove there. I lost my balance. Like he was going there with intent of causing wreaking havoc of some sorts. Like there was definitely no doubt about that. And maybe it was a little more than he bargained for, but he went there with a purpose for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll agree to disagree on that one. I think you're
Okay.
assessing him based on reputation potentially there, I think.
Okay.
And that's not a bad play when it comes to Ridley Gregg when you get down to it, like the Matt Cook effect. You know, generally speaking, if there's been a murder and there's an attempted murderer in the crowd watching the police investigation, I'm going to go, maybe that's potentially a suspect there. So, yeah, reputation counts for something. There's no question. Moving on. A lot of people upset with the early play of Linus Ullmark. They're also in the same boat with Nick Jensen, I think. Jensen rallying from that hip surgery in the offseason happened in May, and most of his analytics don't look very good in the early going. And so a lot of people are not only saying he shouldn't be in the top four, some people are even going so far as to say he should be, when you've got a Spence sitting up in the press box from that Islander game until the Calgary game on Thursday night. He didn't play a game since that gaff in the final minute against the Islanders. When you've got someone as good as Spence that's up in the press box and Jensen scuffling the way he is, then maybe the play should be for Jensen to eat a little popcorn up in the press box and take some more time, because a lot of people are not very happy with the way he's played so far. What say you?
He should not be in the press box. I do believe, though, he should be in the bottom pair. I think in a perfect world, he's in the 5-6. He's in the bottom pair. He's a staple, sorry, in the bottom pair. I just think they're having a tough time finding somebody. Coach obviously doesn't have a lot of confidence, or the coaching staff or whatever does not have a lot of confidence in Jordan Spence to play in the top four. I think that's the issue here. It's clear that Jensen is, he's at an age, right? It is, and his record, his years in Washington, he wasn't necessarily a top four guy towards the end of his time in Washington. He came here, he settled in nicely playing with Shabbat and had a really good year last year, but that was probably more of an outlier in his career than his regular performance. He's probably better suited as a 4.5, right? Last year, when he came in, he's probably more like a 4.5 guy, and now he's probably more suited as a 5 or even a 6. So I've said it all. I'm sorry, Steve. I'm Pete and repeat here. I believe he belongs in the bottom pair. I believe you put Spence in the top four and you play him there and you let him consistently play there and see how he develops and what comes of it. But I think that's the way it should be. I've thought it since the day they acquired Spence that he's better to play in the top four and you're better to have Jensen in the bottom pair. Plain and simple.
There's always going to be, it seems, a whipping boy on Ottawa's blue line, isn't there?
There has
when you
to be.
think about Jared Cowan, Cody Ceci, Travis Hamonic last year, and probably some others that I'm not thinking of at the moment. Right. Yeah, go back to the day. It's the thing about it is, and I don't want to sound like an apologist, it is a very difficult position to play in today's day and age. Like, you go back to kind of our era, that sort of 80s hockey, you didn't have to be particularly great at, great footwork and great body position, because the old hooking and holding and cross-checking in the back, that could be the great equalizer for you. Now, with everybody blazing fast and you can do so little about it to slow them down, it's an intensely difficult position. And so it's tricky. And the greats are great, but I think there's a little bit of separation among the Norris level guys, and then there's a big pile of nobody's in that sort of middle pile, and then everybody else is in sort of an average pile. It's just, I guess my point is the blue line position has become extremely difficult, and you can look really, really bad if you've lost even just a little bit of a step.
And I bet somebody somewhere, some sort of mathematical genius, somebody writing their thesis could trace this all back to expansion. There's simply too many teams and not enough talented, not enough talent, period, to play in the higher echelon, to be up higher up the scale in talent. You've got guys in your bottom six and on your bottom 2D who in a smaller league obviously wouldn't be playing in the NHL, right? That obviously has an effect here. So that it becomes a matter of sheltering them. That's why you always see guys that are fifth and sixth defensemen seem to have, oh my God, he's a statistics darling, he's an analytics darling, this guy, because he plays in the sheltered minutes. And when you're in a 5-6 pair, you're playing against a fourth line at home usually, so you're okay. You can be a glass and out guy. You don't have to be a puck handler. You don't have to be a first pass guy. You don't have to be a transporter of the puck up the ice. When you play on the road, it's a different story. When somebody else gets the matchups, it's a different story. So you can be exposed when somebody manages to get their second line out against you all night, or even their top line. But generally speaking, if you play within your position, within your minutes, bottom pair defensemen against third and fourth lines, most of them look just fine. It's when something glitches, either the opposition gets a better team on the ice, or you're having an off night, or you're on with the wrong line yourself on your side, then things start to go glitchy. And of course, the bottom line being, you're not as good as you used to be. A fifth, sixth defenseman back in the day was a hell of a lot better player than you are today. Even though the game has gotten better and third and fourth lines are better and the talent from top to bottom is better, the guys that played in the fifth and sixth overall were better players than guys that play in fifth and sixth now, just by attrition. There's not enough guys anymore.
Getting tougher and tougher to leave Spence on the sideline. He's just he creates offense every game that he plays. I think he's got 5 points in 5 games played so far. So that's getting harder and harder to leave on the sideline, whether it's going to be the expense of Matt and Paolo or the expense of Jensen. We'll see how it all plays out. Now, the month of October has come to a close, Greg, and I haven't mentioned this to you. Just getting you cold with it. If you're to pick a most valuable player for the Ottawa Senators in the first month of the season, which I think we can all agree was damn erratic. Yeah. Some really good stuff and some really bad stuff in there. Brady Tkachuk's absence is certainly a factor. He's a stabilizing force for them. Who would you say is your MVP for the month of October?
Well, I'm going to say it this way. You started out poorly. Your first half of the month wasn't as good as the second half of the month. What's changed from the first half to the second half? Well, what's changed is Drake Batherson's been in the lineup and producing it better than a point a game. The first half, you were being sustained by Shane Pinto producing and really nobody else. Yes, Batherson was there from about game 3 on, I think, or game 4 on, but he wasn't 100%. Once Batherson got to 100%, he alleviates some of that pressure that Shane Pinto doesn't have to score every goal that the team scores every night. It doesn't have to be Shane Pinto all game every night. Batherson comes along, and I think he's probably the guy. I'm not taking anything away from Pinto's start or even what his stats are at as of today. I'm just saying that Batherson's the one who provided a little more, that's sad to say, but depth, a little bit of help to Shane Pinto. So now you got 2 guys at least, so 2 lines that can produce a little bit, and you've relieved the pressure off of Pinto's hot start. I'd go with, it's between Batherson and Pinto. I think it has to be, and I'd go with Batherson myself. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Pinto's a great choice, as is Batherson. I mean, if Pinto had been hurt for the first 3 games and Batherson with a healthy one all the way along, you might go, oh, yeah, you can see the effect that Pinto had. It just, I'm probably just going to go Jake Sanderson. He's had some glitchy moments for sure, but at the same time, he's steady Eddie. He's just a minute-eating machine. He's hovering around a point a game as well, and that was a projection I had at the start of the year, that he's going to be a point-a-game player. Got buried for it, especially by Montreal Canadiens fans. So I'd probably go Jake Sanderson, but your choices are both good as well. Tim Stützle might be in the discussion as well. I love the way Stützle statistically is coming along. Like, he's shooting the puck way more, and he is now, after scuffling in the position for his first few years in the league, when he moved from wing to center, he was not a very good face-off guy, like in the high 30%. Now he is the number 1 face-off guy in the NHL as we record this. That is a crazy turnaround. Hello, Claude Giroux. Tell me mentorship doesn't matter.
But to go back to the earlier conversation we had about sample sizes and statistics, right? Like he's over 60%. Do you really think he's still going to be over 60% by the end of the year? That'd be awesome if he was, because Claude Giroux is a top 10 guy in the league. Shane Pinto is no slouch. You got three guys like that. Like, there's a reason that face-off percentage is important, folks. It leads to possession, right? Like 9 times out of 10, if you win a draw, you also win possession. There are win-losses, but generally speaking, you win a draw, you win possession. That's important, especially O-zone draws as far as creating offense, and especially D-zone draws as far as creating opportunities to get the puck out of your zone and relieve pressure. But would anybody have expected Tim Stützle to be, what is he, 62 or something? Would anybody have ever expected that? I don't know that he's going to maintain it, but it's awesome. It's good to see. Obviously, yeah, he learned. Claude Giroux spent some time with him, and he got better and better, and look at him now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different for me, and I understand the small sample size that we talked about earlier, but when you've been so below average at the face-off position, even the small sample size, having excellence in that is still pretty cool. But I agree with you. I don't think he'll be number one at the end of the year, but stranger things have happened, as they say. And as we look ahead to the Montreal Canadiens game at the Bell Center on Saturday night, this has been a really good rivalry because hate is good for hockey, as we've always said, and these two teams genuinely seem to hate each other. But there are some personality changes from what we saw in the preseason when they looked like they wanted to start World War III. You've got one less Jack-Eye for Montreal. You've got one less Tkachuk, bringing the total to 0 for this game on Saturday night. And you've added one of the NHL's true heavyweights in Curtis McDermott. And I would argue that this is one of the 4 games that he will be of value to this team, because he's certainly, when you watch him skating out there, he's not one of the most, and I'm being kind here, one of the most elite skaters in the NHL. So he's here for games like Saturday nights. What are you expecting as far as shenanigans go?
First, I love your comment. One of the 4 games that he's here for. Yeah, you're probably right. You don't need him for many more than 4 or 5 games all year, depending on who you're playing against. And yes, it's true that most aircraft carriers can turn sharper than he appears to be able to turn. He does. He kind of, I guess he has to be in the lineup against Montreal just because that's the reason you got him here. But I don't know. Do you really need to play him? Yeah, I guess you do. But do you need to play him more than that? Yeah, you need to play him more than just this, though. Like, he comes in for certain games against certain opponents, okay. But as far as him regularly being in the lineup, or even semi-regularly being in the lineup, I don't think so. I don't think you need him more than, you were kind of sort of joking with your 4 games a year. I don't think he needs to play much more than 4 games a month for the rest of the season. He does not bring enough, and what you lose out of the 4th line when he's out there is hard to take. But yeah, he needs to play Saturday night in Montreal, obviously.
I think on Saturday night, I think it comes down to Jack-Eye and Stützle. They always seem to, end up Jack-Eye trying to intimidate the Sens' most skilled player. That's where, it obviously the Tkachuk Jack-Eye thing isn't going to be the thing that initiates it for quite obvious reasons. I still think that it's going to be a very feisty game. These two teams hate each other, and I think it will be potentially one of those games again, even though there are some of the usual suspects that aren't there any longer. Overall, I think it's going to be a great game, and it's an important game. It's early November now, and these are 2 Atlantic Division rivals. They're both in the top 3 in the Atlantic right now, and we know how tight it is in the division. So just all the history, and this is as much as it's ever at stake in early November. I think it could be one of those games that's highly emotional, and I'm looking forward to a good one. What I'm mostly hoping for is the Blue Jays wrap it up in Game 6, so it doesn't muck. I don't have to flick too much on Saturday night, because Game 7 would be right up against Sens and Habs.
Yeah, is there any? No, the NFL Saturdays haven't started yet, right?
No, that's late season.
So there's no more. It's not a sports. What do they call it? A sports equinox. We did have a sports equinox on Monday night, but we will not on Saturday. But you're right, that'll make for a tough night. But it'll be easier than Monday night was really tough, right? The Sens game was on Prime, where you can't pause it, you can't record it, you can't jump in and out of it. without missing stuff. So that was tough. So Saturday night might be difficult. You're right. The Jays have to win Friday night. That's all there is to it. Halloween night, win the World Series. That'll make everybody, all the Senator fans, much happier. And Leaf fans too, I guess, come Saturday night. Be much easier to watch a hockey game and not have to worry about trying to flip back and forth to watch a baseball game.
Everybody said after that Dodgers victory in 18 innings, I was listening to that Colin Cowherd guy on TSN 1200, one of the Americans that they pipe into Ottawa, and he's going off of, well, that game felt like a backbreaker. I don't see it happening. And then 2 games later, he's like, oh, it's all Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, it just makes you roll your eyes. But where were you at after that 18-inning loss? Did you think that a comeback was still in the cards? And are you going bananas right now is the second question.
Yes, I did see a comeback in the cards, and I'll tell you why. Because if anybody, we talked about this early in the show, if anybody understands the idea of turn the page, flush it, and move on, it's the Blue Jays. At bat to at bat, inning to inning, game to game, this team just moves on, marches on, marches on, marches on. And I thought that was a game where, despite the low number of hits, they had opportunities in extra innings to win the 18-inning game. And yes, I get the emotionally speaking, it's a drain that for the team that loses a game that lasts like a marathon game like that. The team that loses usually they're done for the series. But no, because I knew it would not have an emotional effect on the Senators, on the Blue Jays. I just figured the only effect it's going to have is you lost a game. And both teams are going to be tired, equally tired. And if there's no emotional effect on the Blue Jays, then they'll be fine. They turn the page, go out and win the next 2. And yeah, now I'm going nuts. I'm a little nervous about a game 7 if we got to go with Max Scherzer. But hopefully it gets wrapped up in 6 at home. I think that just Toronto, I know you don't like the blue team's team, but Toronto deserves something. Give them a little something here. They deserve this. It'd be good for the good people of Toronto to have another parade.
The Raptors won just a few years back. They're fine. I'm not so worried about the city of Toronto, but I'm a Blue Jays fan all the way, and so great to see him. Put Yasevich back in there. He's just a kid. Go back to back. He's Superman, right?
You sound like the date when the date saw him for the first time in the game against the Yankees. The next night, she's now fully into it, and she's watching the game, and she's going like, well, where'd that guy go? And I'm like, no, sweetheart, he only pitches every 5 days. Well, what do you mean? What are baseball players are pussies. What was this? They can't go again? You don't see a goaltender being like that. And she's all over it. Yeah, it was hilarious. We had of course, and I bet there's all kinds of people out there who aren't regular baseball fans who for the first time are, jumping on the bandwagon here. And they're probably saying the same thing. Well, why can't the guy go again tonight? Well, no, he can't. Think about all that, what he just did to his arm for 3.5 hours over the course of last night or 2 nights ago. Yeah, he's not good to go. But he will be for game 7 if necessary. Not start.
Well, hopefully there's no games. Hopefully there's no game 7 when you get down.
Yeah.
And the difference between your girlfriend and me is that I was joking, just for the record.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I know you were.
All right, let's close it out there. One thing I wanted to mention before we go, though, whatever happened to Max Guenette? This is a guy that was an AHL All-Star 2 winters ago, and now he's an RFA, defenseman for the Belleville Senators, and the Sens haven't done anything with him. They haven't re-signed him. They haven't moved his rights, even for just, Freddie Charles, little future considerations. Like nothing. He's just sitting there languishing, doing nothing. And to me, I don't think he's an NHL defenseman, but I think he's a very good American Hockey League defenseman who can jump up into the NHL and help out once in a while. There's value in that guy. And here it is, the end of October, and the guy still doesn't have a contract anywhere.
Right. It becomes a matter of diminishing demands as far as the player and the agent go. I would think at the start of the offseason, the demand or the hope was a one-way contract from somebody, maybe even the Senators, but I'm sure it started looking for a one-way deal. Then it dropped down to a two-way deal, and probably all he's getting offered is a one-way deal in the American League, not a one-way NHL deal. So he's probably, at least at this point, still looking for that two-way deal. He wants some sort of bump in salary if he plays NHL games. There's probably a lot of teams out there that would be interested in having him, including the Senators. Want that veteran presence, steady Eddie defenseman, guy to work with the kids. He'd be perfect to play in Belleville. But NHL, we're not so sure. So they just simply, they don't want to, or they can't afford to, or within the budget, within the salary cap, can't give this guy a two-way deal. Can't call him up and have to pay him $1 million one night if they're short, if they're tough on cap space. So I think that's probably what's killing him right now is he wants a two-way deal and he ain't getting one. He ain't even getting offers, obviously.
That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine why there wouldn't be an opportunity for a two-way deal somewhere. But yeah, I guess it does sound like maybe a misplay from the agent.
But that's got to be it, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy's an AHL All-Star. Why wouldn't you give him a two-way contract somewhere?
Yeah.
But I guess nobody's banging on the door either. Maybe it was one of those deals where it looked like the agent was playing hardball and the Sens decided to say, well, we're not doing anything one way or the other. And if, it's hard to believe that a professional agent would handle things in that way, but I'm not even sure offhand who his agent is, and I'm wildly speculating right now, so I should just shut my yap as we bring the show to a close.
Right.
It is the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. Thanks to who do I have to thank here? CJRO Radio 107 FM in the east end of Ottawa. Thanks to everybody listening in there. Thanks to everybody on YouTube. If you haven't checked out the YouTube channel and want to watch the video version with our leathery mugs, giant-headed screen there on YouTube, you can check that out as well. And also have a look at the Hockey News Ottawa, thn.com/Ottawa. All kinds of great Sens articles up there. And happy Halloween, everybody. Go Blue Jays. Any final thoughts, Greg, before we go?
You nailed it. Happy Halloween. Go Blue Jays. That's all that matters, Steve.
There you go. We'll see you later.